It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Cut's brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Give them a call today, your local financial fiduciary. If you need help with anything related to finance and money, go to 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. We're excited to hear from Pete Fiutak of College Football News. He's been writing for college football for a long, long time, and he joins us often on the program, and I can't wait to get his take on what we just witnessed in the college football playoff. Pete, Happy New Year. How you doing?
Happy New Year. How you guys been?
Busy. We're supposed to be able to enjoy the holidays, Pete, and we have this bomb dropped on us a week ago that Kyle Whittingham's the new coach at Michigan, and it not only impacts Utah, it impacts BYU, and it's been pretty wild here over the last 7 days.
But does it impact you? He's gone. Like, why does it impact you?
Because all the coaches he's taking with him and potentially players.
I guess. But, like, I guess that would matter. But, all right, well, you're Utah. You've got all this money coming in. Don't you just go get new players? I mean, like, it's kind of how it works.
That is how it works, right.
Just go shopping. Go buy yourself some more players. And buy better players than Texas Tech, because if they get Brendan Thorsby, that's kind of a problem. But first of all, it'll be fine. You know, Utah will be just good. Utah's got the things in place, and, you know, Michigan's Michigan. You can't compete with that, right. So it's okay, whatever.
Right.
But, look, I don't really love this transfer portal. Last year, I mean, the quarterbacks in last year's portal were killers. I mean, I don't like anybody, including Thorsby, like I like the guys in last year's portal. I mean, that last year's was just humongous.
Yeah.
This is kind of okay. There's guys. There's no one in this portal like, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna get $5 million. This guy's gonna get okay, but you're overpaying because I don't know if he's gonna really
Everybody's overpaying.
Help,
You're overpaying every year. What guy's worth it right now? None of these quarterbacks have panned out to be worth $4 or $5 million.
Well, you know,
maybe Mendoza.
Derek Mensa with Duke did. I mean, they won an ACC championship. He was pretty good. But like, look, here's the thing. This used to be done underneath the table and to, like, 17-year-old kids and recruits.
Right.
Now it's just above the board to guys who are out there already. So, exactly. So nothing really has changed all that much. It just looks a little more, you know, not as much fun. It stinks. You know, if you've grown accustomed to some of these guys on your team and now they're gone, it's not very fun.
Isn't Sorsby to LSU a lock right now? So you say you don't like Sorsby. I actually like Sorsby.
He's fine.
Yeah, but
he's fine.
I'm with Pete because we saw him against BYU and Utah this year, and they made him look, I don't know.
He has a great arm.
He's got some talent. He's mobile.
But
is this a guy that's going to take is this like a guy that can have a Mendoza effect?
Yes, I think so.
Go to the NFL.
Right.
But here's the thing. Why? You can get $4 million in college.
Because if you want to be, I like the Bill Parcells line. If you want to be in the league, be in the league. Like, what are you doing?
Hey, Pete, I do not argue with you. I'm with you on that because I feel like I'm a little old school on it. But at the same time, these kids are making $3+ million and they don't have to sit. They're getting $3+ million in the air. And guess what? The NFL's not going nowhere. You can still do it.
Well, unless you hurt yourself, Justin Herbert's making 55, so it's
it's only going to get higher. Trevor Lawrence is making 54, isn't he?
Yeah.
You want to get to that second contract as soon as possible. But yeah, I get it, and actually that's more of an NBA thing because there literally is a cutoff in the NBA draft where it's like the 13th pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you don't really because at that point you don't really want to come to the NBA because chances are you're not going to last in terms of, you know, history of the NBA draft. So you might as well get your money up. But whatever. So it's, you know, who's going to – all these teams are going to get the same, you know, the guys that they're going to want to get. They're going to fill in the gaps. And, you know, and then you get a guy like Trinidad Chambliss who the dude was from D2 Ferris State. I mean, he wasn't Nico Yamalieva. Yeah, he wasn't, one of those superstars in the portal last year. And now he's, you know, a guy balled out yesterday. Now he's got a shot to, you know, get to the national championship.
And give Ole Miss credit for doing that kind of homework instead of just going with the big name that has a great agent. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're benefiting from the homework
Nico
they did
like crap.
on a D2 player. Right? Nico was not. Yeah, it obviously didn't pan out for UCLA. So I still think the teams that do their homework and actually do the work are going to be rewarded more than those that just throw some money at a dude.
I actually kind of disagree. I think Nico's actually awesome. He just has nothing. Had nothing around him. Let's see what he does.
Well, then it's a bad fit, right?
The decision was terrible, but I said he looked terrible.
$4 million ain't no bad fit, but
see,
that's fair.
See, there we go. Why do I need to go to the league if I'm getting $4 million?
Like this is all show business, son. Who cares how much you fits or not? But
right.
I get what you're saying, but like in terms of talent, like I mean. And look, Lane Kiffin always got like 5 different guys, in from the portal and from transfers, and he'd find the one who would fit and go from there. So it's a lot of luck. It's a lot of help. Is it the right guy at the right time? I mean, look, who are the best quarterbacks coming back next year? Probably Julian Sayin. He's, I guess he was a transfer, but, okay, but that doesn't really count. He never really played for Alabama. C.J. Carr was homegrown for Notre Dame. He's going to be a superstar next year. So, it's just kind of the way this all works now. And allegedly these guys are supposed to go to class to be college students, but okay.
Yeah, I think we all know better than that. Speaking of entertainment, I thought that this round of games, the quarterfinals were great. A lot of interesting storylines. I don't know, let's begin with Texas Tech because as a Big 12 market here, I think we were all pretty stunned and disappointed with how poorly they played especially on offense. Defense was fine. I think the defense gave them a chance, but that offense was putrid. How big of a negative impact can this be on the perception of the Big 12, the way Texas Tech no-showed on offense against Oregon?
It depends on how Oregon does, because remember how these narratives get framed. First of all, the SEC isn't that good. So, everyone's like, oh, wow, the SEC. They're like, ooh, the SEC. Ooh, look at this team. Well, again, the whole thing, I got in big, giant trouble for dogging the Alabama gauntlet. Well, look at that gauntlet of teams. Every team they played, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, all the way down, they all lost their bowl games. Like, the gauntlet just was a disaster. So it wasn't that great. And I was like, oh, look out for Georgia. Well, Georgia looked great against other SEC teams, looked like hot garbage against Georgia Tech. And now it's like, oh, well, look at Texas Tech. They weren't ready for this yet. Look at the Big 12. Maybe Oregon's really awesome. Look, I think we're sleeping on them because
fair.
Because look, there was Michigan 2 years ago. It was Ohio State last year. I thought it was going to be Penn State this year to start the season, and now everyone's all hot on Indiana. But why is everyone hot on Indiana? Because they beat Alabama, who's just kind of meh, who was awful over the second half of the season, but they played a bunch of SEC teams. So now everyone's overrating Indiana, and maybe, just maybe, Oregon is that team. So if Oregon goes out there, beats Indiana, I think it's going to be Miami, they're the national championship. And also it's like, well, it's not Texas Tech's fault. They just lost the national champion maybe.
That's fair. We build narratives after each and every game when that's probably not very wise. So do you think Oregon getting a second chance against Indiana on a neutral field, do you think they can get it done against Indiana, or is this Indiana team, is this none of us? I mean, this is one of the great stories in college football. If they're able to finish this off, you're right. I agree with you. Everything you said about Alabama, but my goodness, Pete, 38-3. I mean, they absolutely throttled them. Indiana looks like a juggernaut.
At some point, someone's going to wake up and realize that Indiana doesn't have the talent of these other teams. They are so well coached. They do everything right. I mean, man, those receivers, Brewster and those guys run the most precise routes. They don't get penalized. They don't turn the ball over. They make every right angle on every right play. These guys are so well coached. They're so smart. These players are so well disciplined. They just play everything perfect. But like yesterday, the big problem was Alabama's got more talent than Indiana. They ran the ball 17 times. You've got this massive humanity on your offensive front. All those guys are going to play in the NFL. Well, run the ball. Start pounding on these guys. And they ran it like they quit. They just quit running the ball. And so I'm still waiting to see. Look, remember what happened last year where Oregon beats Ohio State in the regular season? rematch in the college football playoff. Ohio State brings it back. Look what happens this year. Oklahoma beats Alabama. Flip the script. Georgia beats Ole Miss. Flip the script this day. I think Oregon just is a different team now. They've got all the talent. They've got the offensive line. They've got so much speed at every position. They've got the possible number 1 overall pick in the draft at quarterback. I'm not dogging Indiana. I just kind of think that Oregon is they're due. They're due to rise up and have a great game here.
Yeah, but isn't that the name of the game? To be well coached. Isn't that why we're paying these coaches $2 million a year, right? So I think that's a part of it, a part of talent. Excuse me for bringing up old days, but 2008, Utah playing Alabama, I just thought we had a great game plan. We were well coached, right? Alabama, on paper, had way more talent than us. Barry Switzer said there's not a guy on the Utah roster that would even make the 3 deep for Alabama. But I think being well coached is a part of team organizations, right? Team games, right? And so Indiana being well coached is a part of why they are so far. So talent can only take you so far. That's why I don't agree with this transfer portal stuff and just ramming together 5-star guys and 5-star guy here, 5 guy, and thinking that you have an all-star team. But being well coached is a part of the team. So isn't that the name of the game than just racking together all this ultimate talent? It's who can fit better, right?
Oh, yeah. That Alabama team was also super sad, and then they never lost again after that. But, you're right. It's part of it. Sometimes it just, whose scheme is right. Sometimes, how does a Navy compete with anybody? They don't have anybody who plays at that level. But if you have the right schemes and you do things the right way, for years, in Oregon, well, they didn't always have the talent. They ran that, Chip Kelly offense way back in the day that just was a differentiating factor, and sometimes you neutralize the talent. And, yeah, sometimes that works. The difference, though, in the end, to win the national title, you kind of need to have both, because this isn't like college basketball where you just get hot from 3. We're never going to see a Tulane or a James Madison go on a run in the college football playoff. It's just not going to happen. Who ends up winning? Well, last year Ohio State had more talent than everyone else. You knew that was coming. Michigan, you didn't see that one was coming. Georgia destroying TCU, that was overdue. But this year you've got 4 teams, and I'll throw Indiana in there. Indiana, Mendoza could be the number 1 overall pick. They've got NFL guys. But, man, Miami, for example, that team's got some NFL guys. That Miami-Ohio State game, you could take 10 guys off there and come up with a top 10 in the NFL draft, and you wouldn't be crazy wrong. Right. So Indiana's going to have to keep scheming and keep doing everything right. There's no blip. If there's the stray interception, if there starts to have a penalty problem, if all of a sudden something goes the slightest bit wrong, all of a sudden this all changes really fast.
We hammered Alabama in the SEC for good reason, but what in the world was up with Ohio State? Was this team – we talked about how great the defense was all year, and Miami just took it to them. Was this Ohio State team not as good as we thought? Were they not battle-tested enough this year? What happened to the Buckeyes?
And if the kid hits the field goal straight in the Big Ten championship, and in that game, Ohio State probably is the undefeated team that everyone's picking.
Right.
It's just that crazy. The defense only gave up 13 points to Miami. They had the weird pick 6 there that changed everything. But here in both games, the defense, as awesome as it was, historically great, they didn't come up with the stop it had to have against Indiana. It did not come up with it. There was time left. There was 5 minutes left on the clock, and that NFL offensive line for Miami just pounded away. But you can't blame the defense for this. Anytime you have a head coach who starts calling his own plays, be it Dan Campbell with the Lions or Ryan Day with Ohio State, things kind of tend to go a little bit wrong. And they didn't have it in the first half. And then all of a sudden they realized, all right, let's just keep this to the basics. All of a sudden Julian Sainz started playing well again. They marched down the field. Everything was going just fine. They looked the part again. They just didn't quite have that fire this year. It sounds kind of weak, but last year's team was just crazy. They were fanatical about, oh my God, we have to win this. It's now or never. This team was just clinical, and it worked for most of the year. But all year long, Ryan Day kept saying, well, eventually we're going to, put it into gear, and we're going to step this game. Now we're going to, get this thing going. Well, they just never did, and they got caught in the last 2 games of the year.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about this. The last two games of this year, right? You know, we got this semifinal, and then we have the national championship, and you know the matchups are set. Ole Miss, the story. How about the story of Ole Miss and the new coach coming in and this matchup against Miami and how that's going to be in the Fiesta Bowl, man. So, what are your thoughts with the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl, and who's going to be our eventual champion?
Ohio State. Ole Miss is probably going to win the national championship just because that's the one team I think can't win this thing. So I don't think they don't have. I mean, look, this is again. They played an SEC team. They played Georgia. It was a nice story. They came up with a great win. They've got so much turmoil with their assistant coaches now having problems because Lane Kiffin wants them at LSU already. Again. If Miami plays like it did in the first two games, it's not going to have a problem with Ole Miss. But this is, look, the narrative writes itself. Miami playing the national championship at home, that would be kind of insane. But this team, they have the NFL talent. They have figured it out. Carson Beck's playing like the star he was supposed to be a couple of years ago. And again, those lines, those pass rushers, they're just crushing all. I mean, crushed Texas A&M. Crushed Ohio State's offense. I think they'll be able to keep Old Trinidad under wraps a little bit here.
Yeah, that pass rush is elite. That's for sure.
Teams of the first round bye now 1-7 in the 12-team playoff. Do you think that's something that's going to get changed this next round?
It might, but like, first of all, last year, you had Boise State and Arizona State as 3-4. So like, better teams won those games. So it wasn't like it was the time off. It was that Ohio State was better than Oregon. It was that Penn State was better than Boise State. This year, I don't. Indiana looks just fine, and plus I think Miami was just as good or better than Ohio State, and certainly Oregon was the better team than Texas Tech, and you can't blame the time off for Georgia's loss. That was pretty dead even after the first thing. So I think it's just sort of a quirky thing that happened. In general, I know how coaches are, and they like the thought of they want to keep things going and continuity. I kind of am the bigger fan. Well, you figure that one out because the one thing you can't afford is an injury. And if you don't have to play and you get time off to get your guys all healed up and ready to go, that's probably the net positive compared to having to play an extra game.
Real quick, your take on Kyle Whittingham being hired by Michigan. We'd love to get your outside perspective on that.
I mean, it sounds great. It's Michigan, so they're going to have talent there, and they're going to run the ball well. If you can get the guys there and run the Kyle Whittingham style with defense and great line play and running and pound away and do all the things he did at Utah over the years when Utah was rocking, then yeah, absolutely. But this year was good. They didn't win the Big 12 title, and it was kind of a struggle for years before that. And that part of it was getting the quarterback situation right, so we've got to get that in place. So yeah, it should be interesting. He's an interesting hire. I'm not sold that this is all of a sudden going to make them better than Ohio State and Oregon and even maybe Penn State under Matt Campbell and USC with what they got with their recruiting class going forward. But all right, you can't really dog the hire because Whittingham's a made man, a Hall of Famer, and let's see what this guy can do if he's rejuvenated and can put this all together. But there's where the transfer portal has to kick in because it's not like there's a 5-year program here. He's coming in to tweak. There's no rebuild happening under Whittingham.
There's still plenty of players in that cupboard. Yeah, he should have plenty of talent to work with. Pete Fiutak, college football writer for College Football News. Pete, always a pleasure. Thanks so much. We'll have to catch up with you after these semifinal games are played to get your take on that.
Absolutely. Have a great one, guys.
Happy New Year, Pete.